Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Cultural Diversity at your college, Intro to Cultural Diversity, CLDV 100. Today is Tuesday, November 30th, 2021, and we have the pleasure of having a guest speaker. He's visiting from the Obafemi Awolowo University in Nigeria. And he goes by the name Professor Adebusuyi Adeniyi. He's here with a couple of his students from the Department of Sociology and Anthropology. What's very interesting is that at the beginning of this semester, we had written a project together, a COIL project, Collaborative Online International Learning, where we were going to do a project together for both students in Nigeria and in the US on cross-cultural communication. But unfortunately, because of a lot of tech challenges and school closures and things like that, we weren't able to bring the students together to work on the assignments that were designed for this project. But this morning, surprisingly, he's here with a couple of his students, and I'm going to give him the floor to make his presentation, and hopefully we'll be able to have some interaction or dialogue, between students in the US and in Nigeria. So Professor Adebusuyi, thank you so much for taking the time to join us this morning. The time difference, I believe, is 5 or 6 hours. And thank you so much. I give you the floor. You're very welcome to York College, City University of New York. Let's give him a round of applause. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good afternoon from Nigeria, and I guess it's morning in the US presently. So it's a privilege being invited to deliver a lecture on cultural diversity. I'm so grateful, and I especially appreciate Professor Remi Alapo for the privilege, and for the students here present from both sides, US, Nigeria. I welcome all of you. Thank you for being on board of the lecture. So I go straight to my lecture to conserve time. And I will be speaking on cultural diversity. So Professor Alapo, the first slide, please.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see your screen. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you, ma. So to start with, I'd like to just put us through procedure for engaging in this lecture. I'll round up the lecture in about 25 minutes, and just to provide enough room for question and answer, we are free to please clarify any component of the lecture that is not particularly clear, and move on. Thank you. Introduction to cultural diversity as presented today by me. And next slide. I start with the basic question. We are here to have lecture on cultural diversity. Then I commence by asking, what is even actually culture? We all seem to have different perspective when it comes to describing what culture actually entails. So I start by describing culture as simply a way of life of a people. In other words, culture depicts the totality of a people's existence, especially in terms of values, norms, institutions, art, and day-to-day behavior of individuals. And it could also imply a set of assumptions that individuals routinely accept without questioning as they interact with one another. As a whole, a common depiction of what culture actually entails is that across regions, across societies, culture remains ever dynamic. Next slide. Next slide, please. Yeah, thank you. Then I move on to the description of diversity. What does diversity entail before we can even connect it with culture? Culture diversity may either be interpreted as a variety, wherein everyone is adjudged as a unique personality in that context, or as a difference, wherein specific groups of people, for instance, non-white women are described as being different with respect to a presumed dominant group, for example, white women. In that context, we could talk of variation between groups like non-whites, groups like women, in respect of groups like white women, like white men. Then proceeding from the definition of diversity, cultural diversity would therefore be presented as a representation of varieties of a human culture obtainable within a specific society or within a specific region or at larger global space. On a general note, the more cultural differences among people, the
Just a
more
second,
significant.
Professor. Please, if you're not speaking, mute yourself. I'm going to just mute. If you're not speaking, please mute yourself because there's a there's sound coming from your phone or from your device. All right, please go ahead. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Prof. So I go over cultural diversity one more time. I've described it as a representation of variety of human culture in a specific society or that is obtainable within a specific region or at larger global space. On a general note, it has been noted that the more cultural differences obtainable among people, the more significant the variations in how societies organize themselves. So when we talk about diversity at the level of cultural engagement, it has the direct impact on how social organizations are effected within given society. Next slide. Thank you. Now, I ask a question. What could we then affirm cultural diversity? Why can we say it is actually central to human interaction and human progress? I've given a series of factors in this context. First, I've said that societies are increasingly becoming diverse, and society are setting extant diversities within their national borders. Unlike what was hitherto obtainable, where these causes in respect of cultural diversities have been actually subjugated within the context of majority configuration. But now the pattern is changing, and various societies are actually living to that reality that issues relating to diversities have to be addressed if sustainable process of social interactions has to be enabled within their society. Also, individuals and groups have varied, plural, and dynamic identities. So in this context, these causes in respect of cultural diversity cannot be underestimated. And also, culture changes across time and space. If this is the case, then issue bordering on cultural diversity has to be on the front burner of related discourses in all given societies. And when we talk to the innovative and creative capabilities of cultural diversity, it is expedient to affirm that cultural diversity, issues relating to cultural diversity cannot be underestimated in any given society. So also, being an heritage of humanity as a whole, and heritage that should be preserved across generations. In this context, cultural diversity we continue to take several positioning in the process of human interaction. And more significantly, issues bordering on cultural diversity usually provide opportunity to share ideas across various cultures. Also, cultural diversity as a whole presents a veritable space for possibility of knowledge transfer and, of course, experience transfer across different societies or across different cultures. And more than any other consideration, the capability to obliterate inherent disadvantages, especially among groups that are considered as minority. In this context, cultural diversity appears to be a central issue of discourse if it actually possesses the capability to remove or to limit or to obliterate inherent disadvantages in the process of human interaction. Next slide, Prof. Thank you. Now, on this slide, I will be presenting selected issues that are cultural diversity based, just to stimulate our interest in the issue at hand. Selected cultural diversity based issues. Number one, stereotype issues about workforce. Stereotype issues about workforce is actually an issue that is cultural diversity based. So also absence of familiarity could stimulate issues relating to cultural diversity. The context of nation-specific work environment could also make issues bordering on cultural diversity to be an interest point of discussion. Then when we look at conflict between valuing diversity and sustaining the bond of an existing heterogeneous group, this issue could be understood within the context of a cultural diversity discourse. So also issues bordering on cultural silence and squid dialogue in the process of human interactions. All of this combined together will present interesting issues within the context of a cultural diversity discussions. Next slide, Prof.
It's this slide?
No, return to the previous slide. Yeah. No?
Sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
This one, right?
All right. Thank you. So proceeding from those selected cultural diversity-based issues, I'm presenting here suggestions on how to address related issues bordering on cultural diversity within different contexts. And the first and foremost, I said make diversity an integral component of a project or any process of
Oh, we can't hear you, Professor. Are you there? Okay, I think he went off. Let's give him a few moments to reconnect. Yeah, I guess due to tech issues. So I see Adeniyi.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, you can tell us who you are in 10 seconds.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Good morning, ma'am. My name is Adeniyi a student of Obafemi Awolowo University. Currently, I'm in part 4, preparing for my final year project. Thank you, ma.
Thank you. And I see Ashikwe Stephen. You can unmute yourself.
Oh, thank you, Prof. Sorry for the interruption.
Yes. So I was just
Oops.
having some of your students introduce themselves to us quickly. Yes, Ashikwe, go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon, ma. My name is Ashikwe Stephen Ikechukwu from the Department of Sociology and Anthropology, from Awolowo University, sir. Ma.
Thank you. And I see Nene Ijoma. And Shade Abiodun. Believe Jacob. You can unmute yourself to say hello quickly.
Hello. My name is Shade Abiodun. I'm a lawyer in.
Can we see your face?
Can we see your face?
Can we see your face?
Mute them, already. Network,
Okay. I'm into the social legal practice of law.
Thank you very much. And then Believe Jacob.
Good afternoon, ma. My name is Believe Jacob, a student of sociology and anthropology, and I'm currently in part 4.
Thank you very much. And
Thank you, ma.
Anolu. All right. So we'll do more introductions later. Let's go back to Professor Adebusuyi. So I'm going to make you co-host again.
Thank you.
Yes. 1 second. Oh, it's very weird, but it's not letting me. But anyway, I'm going to share my screen. I'll go ahead and share my screen since I'm... Can you see my screen?
Perfect.
All right.
I can see it clearly. Good. So let me start from where I start. So
Okay.
I was talking about possible suggestions for how to make diversity-related issues, front burners in processes of human interaction. And I've alluded to the fact that diversity should be made an integral component of any project or any process of human interaction. In this context, there could be explored maximally. So also, reassessment and adaptation to each new team, each new situation, and each new environment should be enabled within the context of cultural diversity applicable to each context. Also, a team should function with respect to its diverse attributes. If this is factored into consideration, it is affirmed that cultural diversity we have positive outcome in the process of human interaction. So also, communication mechanism should be improved upon as each new situation demands. Doing this will enable exploration of the positive component of cultural diversity to enable the process of human interaction and larger progress of relevant societies. So also, out-group assistance should be explored whenever it is desirable. This can actually make a group to function maximally within the context of inherent cultural diversity. So also, applicable management techniques should be adjusted in such a way that it will be able to address each of situation as the situation demands. The next slide, Prof. Thank you. So my concluding comments will essentially reflect how diversity could be strengthened in the process of human interaction, to be strengthened to the extent of making the process of human engagement a seamless procedure, and also utilizing inherent diversity for the progress of the larger society. The first point I've noted here is that a network should be developed. What do I mean with this procedure? Putting a network of interested participants in place where interactions could take place would be a procedure for utilizing diversity for the progress of applicable groups and larger society. And from the network, a forum that will essentially be described as a platform for utilizing inherent strength in the network should be facilitated. The movement will be from network creation to establishment of a relevant forum. Conversation should be encouraged within the frameworks of the forum functioning. Conversation bordering on every component of participants' existence. At the level of cultural diversity, multiple opinions should be accommodated and fine-tuned in such a way that no one will feel left behind. And also, issues that border on cultural diversity should be a subject of media engagement. To the extent that the strength lying in diversity should be promoted for the good of the larger society. More than any other consideration, across regions, across religions, across various differentiating attributes, diversity should be celebrated more than ever. Within this context, everyone will be a winner. And with this in view, the larger society stands to benefit a great deal. Thank you for the opportunity of presenting. Thank you very much.
Professor, let's give him a warm round of applause, either in person or with your expression icon. Thank you very much. Thank you for your presentation on cultural diversity and looking at the various aspects or components of why cultural diversity is very important. And I'm going to continue to give you the floor. Feel free to call on any student for Q&A, or if you would like to have an activity, it's up to you. So please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Prof. So the first question I'd like to address borders on centrality of cultural diversity to process of human interaction. And I would like to first, I'll call on the student randomly. Okay, good. So my first question will go to Ashley Mata. Ashley Mata, please, can you just let me know how do you think that cultural diversity is important if sustainable progress is going to be enabled in this society?
Ashley?
Or maybe.
Yeah, maybe we'll move to another student.
Okay, let me throw the same question to Aklema. I think
Aklima pass out, yes.
Yeah, please. Why do you think that cultural diversity is central to sustainable human interaction?
Aklima? Can you unmute and respond? Even if you don't have the exact response, try to give a response. I'm sure no response is, bad. So go ahead and unmute yourself. I guess they are shy. maybe call another student or have one of your
Okay.
students respond.
Okay. I think the next question, I would still like to throw it to Anil, if that would be right. Anil, please, can you respond to the question?
Anil?
Thank
I
you.
think cultural diversity is important. So like it allows people to learn from each other and learn from different types of like cultural norms and stuff like that. It allows people to benefit who they are and learn from others.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Anil.
So I move on to the, thank you very much, Anil. Thank you. It's a perfect response. It's a perfect response. Then the next question we go to student from Obafemi Awolowo University. And then please, can you let me know the basic difference between a cultural and cultural diversity? What is the basic difference between cultural as a concept or as a way of life and cultural diversity as a point of discourse? Please, I call on Ashikwe Stephen, please. Ashikwe Stephen. Okay, maybe I move on to Adeniyi. Please, can you respond to that? The basic difference between a cultural and cultural diversity.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. From my own knowledge, sir, I think culture is just talking about the way of life of people, or let's say the totality of the way of life, their norms, and when we talk about cultural diversity, sir, we're actually talking about let me say the peculiarities, what make one culture to different from another culture. Let's say Nigeria in this instance, what make us different from another extent. Okay, can I give examples?
Yeah, sure. Please, you are free.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, in that context, let me talk more about developments. I want to use that as an example to differentiate the cultural diversity, sir. Okay, for example, now let's say in the process of in the process of sharing ideas. Now we can say we have cultural diversities between, let's say, America and Nigeria. Now, yeah, America can talk about, let's say, modernization as as their own culture, as their own cultural diversity, as their own way of view development in the world. Like, okay, this is the way we should embark on to engender development. But Nigeria can just say no, we are not. No, if we part that way, we might not really engender development. Okay, we can think of another thing. I think in that sense, we are actually tending towards cultural diversities. Oh, this is, although culture is the totality or way of life of people, but in some essence, it can actually differ the way they handle their own. So their own way of life, they might actually look different from the way we do our own thing. Yes, sir.
That's a good one. Thank you. So my next question. Thank you. My next question will now border on what precisely could cultural diversity be explored? For what purpose can it be explored? The understanding is that if it is well managed, it can foster progress. Then my question is this: who can actually tell me why cultural diversity could also foster underdevelopment? If it is well managed, it could foster progress. If it is not well managed, it could foster underdevelopment. Who can expatiate on this? So let me call I think I like to call from the US side, please. Can Kelsey respond to this? Kelsey or Michelle? Okay,
Kelsey
please, Shemeta,
or
please go
Michelle?
ahead. Thank you. Thank
Or
you. Thank you.
Shemeta?
Please, Shemeta, fine. Please, please respond. Shemeta, please.
I just joined now. I don't know what your question is.
Oh, please repeat the question, Professor.
Oh, thank you. The question is this: if cultural diversity is well managed, it can foster progress within a given society. If it is not well managed, it can also foster underdevelopment. So I now ask, what is your understanding of this?
I have no idea.
Thank you.
I guess she's just joining us. So maybe one of the other students that were here earlier, there's Keshina, Aklima, Brittany, Michelle, Kelsey.
Anyone is
any
free
of
to
you can
respond.
respond. Yes, Nadira, Nave, Madeline. Maybe they didn't understand what you meant with your question.
Okay.
I mean, by your question, if cultural diversity can foster progress, how also can it foster underdevelopment? So they may not be thinking in terms of, development as a, as a whole, or underdevelopment as a whole. So perhaps you may want to explain or provide some examples so that they will understand what you mean by underdevelopment.
Okay. Should I offer explanation on that? Or
yes, please. Yes.
That's good. That's good. Please, when we mention cultural diversity enabling progress, the understanding is this. Let's take the larger society as a case reference. When we talk about level of sharing experiences and knowledge transfer, if you have an individuals with different cultural background coming together within a specified region or a specified country, multiplicity of multiple ideas from different angles, if it is appropriately harnessed, it could actually foster a kind of progress within the context of technological engagement, even sustainable peace within the society. But the same cultural diversity that could be used to foster progress within the society, it could be at the level of human interaction. It could be at the level of work engagement, different ideas emanating from different backgrounds. If they come together, well weaved together, you could have a positive outcome. So also these ideas, when they come together and are poorly managed, it could also foster what I call retrogression within specified context. It could be at the level of human engagement. It could be at the level of transformation. It could be at the level of workplace engagement. When we mention workplace engagement, at the level of labor relations, when you have positive interpersonal interaction, work within workplace will be seamless. Organizational goals become easily attainable when you have a kind of vertical and horizontal positive interaction. But also, when this is not obtainable, you discover that organizational goals will not be obtainable at the level of labor relations. So in a nutshell, what could be used to foster progress could also imply retrogression if not well managed. Let me now use United States and Nigeria as case references now. when you talk about cultural diversity in Nigeria, this is a country with nearly 500 different ethnic groups. But the understanding is this: when you talk about diversity at the level of human capability within the context of the country, all of those inherent possibilities that should have been harnessed to bring the people together to make progress possible in the society, they are the same attributes that we have been appealing to separate us. For example, at the level of politicking, you see ethnic sentiments are appealed to cause crisis within the larger society. Whereas ordinarily, the same ethnic variations, if they have been well managed, you have different sections of the country with different capabilities. But these capabilities are actually used from the negative perspective. So what my question is addressing is this: inherent possibilities at the level of cultural interactions. If well managed, poorly managed, it can also stagnate. It's possible at both micro level and macro level engagement. So that's the explanation I'm able to offer in that context.
So perhaps we can ask one of the students from Nigeria to provide some response.
So please, anyone from the side of Nigeria, please, you are free to respond to that question.
Yeah, yes, sir. Can I respond to the question, sir? Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you. You are free,
Thank
please.
you, sir. Yes, sir. During the course of your interaction, you made mention of let me say that cultural diversity provides opportunities.
Oh, he's frozen.
Okay. So please, is anyone able to assist
ideas?
him?
Oh, okay, he's speaking now. Okay, go
Can
ahead.
you hear me, sir?
We lost you for a few moments.
Okay, I said,
yeah.
Okay, I said during the process of your interaction with us, sir, you made mention of the fact that cultural diversities in the context of human interaction provide opportunity to share ideas, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. In that sense, talking about sharing ideas, and in relating that with development intervention, let's say from developed country now to underdeveloped country like Nigeria, I can say the process of sharing ideas has been let me say a negative impact for us. In looking at, let me say, modernization as a development intervention from the test of the opportunity to share ideas. That is what I'm talking about in particular, sir. Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, clearly. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I think that can actually provide, or it can actually foster imperialism, let me say, among countries by their way of modernization theory to tell us that this is actually only way we need to follow for us to own cultural ideas, their own cultural let me say their own ideas on us. And if we look at it from a very critical way or in a logical way, looking at what characterizes Africa now, or let's say Nigeria, in the process of poverty, in the process of nepotism, in the process of bad governance.
Yeah. That's good.
The process of illiteracy, ignorance, poverty in country really engender positive impacts for us in Nigeria. I don't know, maybe you understand me at all.
I understand what you are saying. Thank you for that response. Thank you. Yeah.
Can I?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can I stop there as you go on, sir?
No, you are free to carry on, please. You are free.
Okay. Thank you, sir. In one of my interaction with you in one of our classes, sir, I asked a question about IMF, International Monetary Fund, sir, and and also talking about structural adjustment program, talking about sustainable development program. We can actually see that all these that I've mentioned now, they are actually, let me say, international development intervention from developed country to us here in underdeveloped country. So in the process of sharing our opportunity, in the process of cultural diversity is giving us an opportunity to share ideas with one another. I can say that, considering those international intervention, it has actually provided a, let me say,
You're frozen.
Yeah. He has made his
point.
Yeah,
he's made his point. Yeah. So I think in the context of what most of the students will understand, when you look at cultural diversity from the perspective that is being taught here in the US versus the way it's taught in Nigeria.
Yeah.
In the US, mostly, we teach it based on differences in, it's mostly based on color or gender or, yes. So, or of others who are different in terms of maybe policies that affect different communities. So unfortunately, unless you're studying specifically international development or looking at, when you say development, here you say, different communities as diversity affects them. It could be based on the differences in inequality of gender or sexual orientation, or inequalities in racial disparities, inequalities in opportunities afforded to those who are from low income or higher income. So that would be the perspective or the orientation that most of the students will understand the question that you asked.
But
the responses have been quite satisfactory.
Yes.
Always good on that. So I thank all the students from both sides who have been on the lecture. It's been worthwhile experience.
Thank you so much. Are there any other questions or comments for Professor Adebusuyi Adeniyi on his presentation? Or do you have comments or questions for any of the students? So let's maybe open the floor to see if students in the US have questions for students in Nigeria, or if students in Nigeria have questions for students in the US. The floor is open.
Yeah.
So take advantage of the interaction or the opportunity to be here together and talk to each other on cultural diversity. What does cultural diversity mean in Nigeria? And what does cultural diversity mean in the US? So the floor is open. We can have a few moments for student interaction.
Yeah, sure.
Adeniyi,
That's good. That's
believe, yes. Do you have questions? You can throw any questions that you would like students in the US to respond to. And also students in the US, you're free to ask the students from Nigeria any questions.
Okay, actually, I will ask question, but I want to construct it very well, ma.
Okay. What of belief?
So please, all other participants, I could say.
I don't have any question. I understand everything. And
no, do you have questions
for?
There are other students available here from the US. So the question,
yeah, I don't have any questions for anybody for now.
Okay, any comments?
No comments, really, no comments.
Okay.
So,
All right.
well, and other students from Nigerian side, any question for the student from US and student from US? Why are you shy to ask another question?
They're getting ready for the final exams next week. So
Okay,
I guess
that,
right now their focus is on, getting their final exams done.
but it would really be nice if there could be one or two
Yeah.
on the other side, and
Yes.
it would really be nice.
Kelsey, any comments? What would you like to find out in terms of, so earlier in the semester, we were going to have a collaborative project on cross-cultural communication, on verbal and non-verbal communication. I think this may be a good opportunity to ask some of the Nigerian students to show or describe or discuss some of the verbal or non-verbal communications in their society and what it means, because we did spend some time discussing that in our classes. And of course, this class is not only, the students in the class are from diverse communities. They're from diverse backgrounds. And from some of the exchanges we've had in the class, they were able to discuss what certain expressions of or mode of communication were in their parents or their own country of origin, or that they noticed, observed during their travels. So maybe we can go around and share some of those, interactions that we had in class on verbal and non-verbal communication. So we can start with, let's say, Kelsey. And this is, this is work that you've done before. Remember the week 10 or 12, week 8 or 10 discussion on verbal or non-verbal communication. So you can maybe share some of that with the participants joining us from Nigeria. And some of the students from Nigeria may also be able to respond. Michelle, Keshina, Brittany, Anil, Ashley, Madeline, Nave, Nadira. All right, I guess my students are shy. I don't know why. Do you think your students have anything to share in terms of verbal or non-verbal communication or cultural diversity as it pertains to Nigerian context?
To the student from Nigerian side, please feel free to share your experiences. What do you want to contribute? What do you have for us here on the platform? Student from Nigerian side. Why are you also silent like student from the US? Why?
Okay, sir. Adeniyi is here, sir.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, sir.
Hello, sir.
Afternoon.
Yes, sir. My name is Ajakai Ayola, and I've been following up on the class.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, sir. In terms of cultural diversity, there are a lot of cultures here in Nigeria. We have over 400 cultures, but here in Nigeria, we have three dominant ethnic groups. We have over 400 ethnic groups, but we have three dominant ethnic groups. So in terms of cultural diversity, it has in some ways facilitated development, while in other spheres, it has contributed to underdevelopment. For instance, in the political sphere, it has contributed to underdevelopment due to the minority culture minority cultures being dominated because they are unable to get their representatives to dominant positions in government. So in such case, we can say cultural diversity have not been beneficial to Nigeria, but in other instances, it has been beneficial. It has helped in promoting integration if it's well managed, as our professor said, Dr. Adebusuyi. If it's well managed, it has helped in promoting social integration and peace across the country. For instance, if Nigeria is to play an international match or compete in an international competition, most times all cultures, no matter the culture where one belongs to, everyone comes together to give national support for the nation. So in such time, cultural diversity haven't hindered integration and development in Nigeria. So that's just a little contribution I have to make.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for your contribution. I see Prince Akinwale Ojomo also joining us from Nigeria. You have the floor, Prince Akinwale. Please unmute yourself and provide any feedback or comments that you may have.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Alako and Dr. Adebusuyi, for this joint and collaborative online session. So to say the least, I'm so happy that this is coming into reality. And quickly, I'm just giving my own experience as someone who has lived in the US for almost 2 decades before moving to Nigeria. Cultural diversity, for instance, when I was working at Citigroup in New York and Delaware, you will be hearing word or concept like racism, right? And coming to Nigeria, racism is a different word. So I'm trying to just give the students opportunity to think through some of what the nomenclatures that are used in their own environment. So coming to Nigeria, racism is not a word that is commonly used or understood, so to speak, in a different perspective. So we talk about ethnicity because that is the equivalent, so to speak. So for the student in New York, I think is understanding, and I think also that this platform is a great platform for them to quickly digitize knowledge in such a way that even though they are based in Brooklyn, or they can interact with people in Ile-Ife and build a network that will be enduring even for a long time, even beyond their current status as students. So that was my small contribution to it. I think I thank both professors and even the students as well for this interest. And I hope this will go a long way to, maybe in the next few years, when we really are present this program, and even when most of you guys have left school, you will find this very, very useful, and possibly even visit Nigeria, and those in Ile-Ife as well, we possibly visit New York City or the college where Professor Alako is teaching. Thank you so much for all the great effort. I really appreciate all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prince Akinwale Ojomo, for your contribution. It's actually very good that you have both perspectives, because you lived in the US and then now back in Nigeria. So that's what I was trying to tell Professor Adebusuyi earlier, that the context of cultural diversity in the US is different from the context or concept in Nigeria, even though they are similar. We're discussing the same thing, but using the society is different. Where in the US you discuss more on black-white issue, racial disparities, racism, but in Nigeria you look at ethnicity and the different ethnic groups that comprise the Nigerian society. Even though most of the students in this course are also from other countries, but of course, they're now, Americans in America, many have communities, or they belong to communities in the US that are specifically communities that those from their ethnic or racial group come from. So for example, we have a lot of students from the Caribbean, a lot of students from Bangladesh, we have a lot of students from India, we even have students from Nigeria in the US class, on the US side, but the experiences in America are so different. If we, one of your students give an example that during a football or soccer match, everyone comes together for national unity. It doesn't matter what ethnic group you belong to, but the overall goal is that Nigeria wins, so that's sort of, a time when there's national unity, no ethnic disparities. So it may be different or similar experiences for students on the US side, but I think when you asked your questions earlier in terms of, talking about development, they may be thinking, development in terms of, what type of development are they talking about? Is the inequality, how diverse, racial groups develop or, advance in society? So I think in the future, as Prince Akinwale mentioned, when we evaluate the way that we're relaying information, we need to keep in mind looking at cultural diversity from not only inequalities that exist within the US society, but looking at the different ethnicities that comprise the various communities within the US, and how the issue or subject of cultural diversity is different in each community.
That's a good one, Prof.
Yes.
That's a good suggestion, Prof. And I think our subsequent engagement should factor that into consideration. And besides, also, I believe we should be able to bring in a pattern of comparative analysis to our subsequent engagement, precisely concerning cultural diversity. What does it look like on this side? What does it look like on the other side?
Yes.
Are there any points of commonality between the two sides when we are discussing cultural diversity? Or is it a kind of outright departure from what it entails on one side relative to what it entails on the other side? So I think what you have said, that we should factor into consideration a kind of multiple analytical procedures subsequently. So also we should be able to bring in on board a comparative component as well to see how it works on both sides.
Yes.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you so much for your time this morning in presenting to us. And also thank you so much for bringing your students. I appreciate the students from Nigeria who joined us. Thank you so much for taking your time. I know it's been very tough. And one of the reasons why we actually did not have the COIL project any longer was because of school closure of your final exams. And my students in the US are about to take their final exam starting from next week or so. All right, but I sincerely appreciate the time that you've taken to join us this morning. And let's give Professor Adebusuyi and the students who joined us from Nigeria another round of applause. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you
and
for
thank you. Thank you. And thank you to my students, CLDV 100 from York College, for joining us. We're going to continue the class into discussion on final exams and any questions that you may have for me about your final exam. So hang on a second while Professor Adebusuyi and his students log off. Thank you so much. All the best.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you
Thank you
very
very
much.
much for having us, man.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure. All right. So, thank you, Prince Akinwale. He said, great platform and discussion. Good job, Dr. Alakwa and Dr. Adebusuyi, for making this happen. Looking forward to more interactions with students in both locations. Please share the recording. Yes, I'll definitely will share the recording, and also I'm going to share the PowerPoint that Professor Adebusuyi used earlier. And I know in the future we'll have enough time to plan. This was sort of a last minute invitation, even though we had planned to have this project before the beginning of the semester. But because of one thing or another, we weren't able to carry it out, for the 1 month that we allocated. But, it's a start, and there will be improvements in the future, and of course, better planning. So I want to thank both the professor that joined us from Nigeria and his students, and also my CLDV 100 students in the US for, their patience and attention. All right. So what we're going to do now, we have a few minutes before class is over, and I would like to open the floor for any questions that you may have. First, I finished grading all the second draft that were sent to me. So great job. Most of you did very, very, very well. I was very impressed that you took into consideration or you factored in, the feedback that I provided previously, and also the time that you spent coming to the 15-minute appointment. There were a lot of great improvements in the paper, so that was very, very good. For those of you who received additional feedback, make sure you incorporate them into your final draft. And if you look on the Blackboard announcement page, I did provide a template for you to load your paper into. What I'm going to do now is to show you the template so that everyone has an idea of what the template they're going to load their paper in looks like. So for many students already, you were able to actually load your papers into the template. And some of you were not too far off from the template that I uploaded. So, but what you need to do also is make sure that you follow that format so that your paper looks very well, and not only the look or the organization of your paper, the content of your paper is aligned according to the template. I know it seems very gruesome at this time because, you're pressed for time and you just want to end the semester. But believe you me, in the future, you're going to appreciate the templates that I've provided. You're going to appreciate the work that you've done, and you'll be able to add to that work and use it for other content or context, in the future. So here's the template. Make sure that when you upload your final paper, you remove what, like cover page in red, any section you see that, is in red, you remove that. That is just me highlighting what the section or pages will be like. Even though some of you have said it looks like a book, for many of you in the next 2-3 years, when you're working on your bachelor degree projects or your master's projects, you can expand on the current topic and just keep adding to it, okay? So this will come in handy in the future. The only thing you have to include here is your topic and your name on the cover or title page. And of course, this is a sample content page just to show some of you who did not do your main headings or subheadings correctly, just to show, a sample of that. All right. So please format accordingly. Of course, this is my, just a sample like I've mentioned. It may not have anything to do with any of your topics, but just giving you an idea of how to format a main heading or subheading. Okay. And again, when you're sending your final paper, any item that you see in red, you can delete that. That is just a way for me to explain what goes in each of these sections that are in bold, black and bold, okay? And the sections where you see abstract or background, I mean the abstract, you can pretty much just copy the section of your introduction, like, 250 to 300 words. The introduction or the background, a few sentences will summarize what the overall paper is about, okay? And this will come in very handy in the future when you're making conference presentations or other types of presentation. So most of you already, you have the introduction from the first draft. You have the background done already from the first draft. And again, if you see any item in red, it's just giving you an idea of how to format your paper before your final submission. And the main topic, even though mine says diversity and multicultural education, yours may be on school bullying, yours may be on cultural heritage. So whatever it is, whatever the main topic is about, you have also subheadings, and make sure the subheadings are not underlined. You format them according to the template that I've provided, okay? And the section where is response to topic, you don't have to have a heading saying response to topic. This was the section where most of you sent in a different response paper. That is just the section where you explain or express based on your own experiences or observation what you discussed as the problem in the introduction or in the background section, okay? So that's where that goes. You can give it a title that you like. Instead of saying response, you can say my cross-cultural experiences, or, my role as a teacher in a public school or something like that, or my observations or experiences in anti-bullying. Perhaps you're a mentor, or, at an after-school program or something like that, or experiences or observation in diverse language, or whatever topic you want to, the title you want to give to respond to your topic. And what I've also done is, the blank pages, we just tell you how many pages you may want to include to make up the 10 pages, all right, for each section. And then recommendations, suggestions. So based on the problem that you identified in the introduction, and then the background of the paper where you discussed what you found in other resources, what other researchers have done, and then you responded to that based on your own observation or experiences of why you decided to work on this, telling us a little bit about your own interaction of, with the topic, or your experiences with the topic. What recommendations or suggestions or solutions do you have to the problem that you've worked on? So this is where that would go, okay? And then your conclusion, if you copy and paste a couple of sentences from different sections of your paper and summarize them, link them together so that they can form a concise or precise conclusion, about your overall paper, then you will have no problem in working on your conclusion. So many of the papers that were sent in, the conclusions were not there, of course, because that was just the second draft. But remember, for the final paper, you need to include recommendations or solutions to the problem, and also your conclusion. Okay, so again, in red, I've put together what exactly you may want to discuss as part of your conclusion. You can simply copy and paste sections from your paper above but make sure that the sentences flow evenly to make the conclusion meaningful. And for this length of paper, you can have half a page or 1 page for your conclusion. And then the annotated bibliography, section will be different, and also the references section. Okay, so make sure your work is in, and the appendix, you don't have to have one, but for any of you that use images or other figures or data or other tables, you may want to include them as references at the end. All right, so this is not for everyone, but if you have images in your paper, if you pull the table of statistics that you wanted to refer to, is at some point in your paper, you say, see appendix page 1 or paragraph 1, and then you can include the table of data at the, table with data at the end, or the image. So for example, if you were referring in the background section to statistics on racial disparities or diversity in specific communities, or crime or gender inequality in different neighborhoods, or you want to do a comparison of, let's say, arrest or police brutality in different neighborhoods, and you pulled out some data, you may want to show what the figures actually look like. That's what the appendix section will be for. Okay, but of course, like I mentioned, it's not for everybody. So don't feel that you have to include all these sections. But the template, I believe, is self-explanatory. You just copy and paste your content into the different pages or the different sections. Are there any questions about the template?
Professor, can you please explain?
Yes.
Hi, how are you? Good morning.
How are you? Good to see you.
Yeah. Professor,
what was your
really
question?
sorry for the late.
Yes.
Because, yeah.
Oh, you missed our guest speaker. We had a guest speaker, but don't worry. I'm going to post the link, the recorded, the link for the presentation on the announcement page for week 14. All right. So after the class, maybe in an hour or two, the Zoom link will be ready, and you can watch it later.
Okay. And Professor, actually, what we have to do with the project or something like that?
Yes. So the paper you've been working on, I did upload the template on Blackboard for you to copy and paste your sections in. If you need assistance with doing that, you can meet up with me and show me your paper, and I can help you, decide where each section will go. So that's no problem. All right. And this goes for everyone also in this class. If you would like to meet on Thursday, for this Thursday, I'm going to have office hours specifically for CLDV 100 students. So you don't have to come to class. There will not be any lecture, but the Zoom link for this specific class will be available from 9:15 to 10:30 a.m., the exact class time. So you can come in, walk in, show me your paper if you need help copying and pasting into the template. Some of you don't need the template per se because the way you organize your paper was very good. And I did mention that in your, in the feedback that I provided. But if you notice that the way you've written your paper is off from the template, you need to start organizing the sections according to the template that I've provided. Okay, so again, this Thursday, December 2nd, I'm going to be available. We won't have class specifically, per se, but from 9:15 to 10:30, the assigned class time, I'm going to be on the Zoom. So feel free to walk in. So it will be an optional class. Walk in if you have questions about your grade, if you have questions about extra credit, if you have questions about your paper, if you have questions about previously due work. If the last time you met me for, 15-minute appointment, and I told you to do the responses for 10 weeks to 2 different people, and you were going to make those up, you should meet up with me and show me so that I can award you your grades. And also you should continue your weekly discussion, week 1 to 15. because there's a 15 points outstanding that you will still earn for this class. So for participation, out of the 25 points, 10 points went to the first 10 weeks or 10 weeks combined of you responding to 2 different people. And the next 15 points will be for posting or responding to the weekly discussion questions from week 1 to 15, and also for participation in the Zoom classes. So you can meet me on Thursday during this class time, and I can look over your grade, I can look over your paper, I can respond to any questions that you have, because next week we're going to have oral presentation on Tuesday and Thursday. If your last name starts with Z to N, your 5-minute presentation, 5 to 7 minutes about your paper, is going to be on Tuesday. If your last name is from M to A, your presentation is going to be on Thursday. All right, next Thursday, next Tuesday and Thursday. So each person will provide a discussion on their research, their paper that they are working on. And that's where the 10 points for the response paper will go. Okay. Yes, Michelle, you have a question. I see your hand up. Michelle?
Yes, good morning. Yes, good morning.
Yes,
Professor.
Michelle.
So for the oral presentation, we just have to do that, right? An oral presentation. There's nothing else that we need to do.
You don't have
I
to
saw
do any
something about a
PowerPoint.
PowerPoint.
No,
Okay.
no PowerPoint, just a class discussion. So each person will give us a, will provide a 5 to 7 minute discussion on the paper that they've worked on, why they decided to work on this paper, what interested them about the topic, or what they discovered, in terms of the statistics or data that other people have worked on, and also their own experiences or observation, the response, to the problem that you identified, and what your recommendations are. Okay, so you don't need any PowerPoint slide. The same way I'm talking to you, you just put your camera on and you have your paper in front of you, or you just give a 5-minute summary of your paper. So that's where the 10 points for the response paper would be awarded. Okay, no slides, no exam, no testing, just come in, give a 5 to 7 minute summary, or 5 minutes, and then maybe we have 2 minutes for question and answer or something like that, and then you can get your 10 points. But be prepared. Don't just read off your paper. Don't read 5 minutes off of your content. We want to have it as a discussion where you provide the introduction, the background, the reason why you decided to select this topic, what interested you, what then your own responses would be, why maybe you have experiences working in the area that you responded to, or you observed some community or other activities, and also you provide what your recommendations are, your suggestions to the problem based on the research that you conducted, and also based on your observations and experiences, and then your conclusion. Okay, so 5 minutes minimum for everybody, and that'll be it. And your paper, your written paper, will be due the following week, so you still have some time to make some adjustments to your current paper. Of course, so far so good for many of the students that sent in their second draft, but some of you still have some work to be done with your papers. So for those that I provided feedback that you should work on the paper, I would hope that you will meet me on Thursday, this Thursday, December 2nd, from 9:15 to 10:30 a.m. Same class Zoom link, same class time. Just show up and I'll be happy to work with you on your paper. Okay. And any questions, even if you want to practice your 5-minute presentation, I'll be available on Thursday from 9:15 to 10:30. Okay. Any other questions or comments, any fears, any worries so far? We're in week 14, so you made it this far. That's very good. I'm very impressed. I'm very proud of all of you. And thank you for hanging around, from the beginning of the semester. Plan ahead of time. The final papers are due on Tuesday, December 14th, which is the reading day. Last day of classes to get all your work in will be Monday, December 13th. After that, I'm not going to accept any other work from the semester. The only thing that I'll be grading will be your final paper, which will be due on the reading day, December 14th by 11:30 p.m. It doesn't mean December 14th you start contacting me that you need more time. You've been working on pretty much the same paper from the beginning of the semester and just adding sections to it. There has been a lot of opportunity for you to work on the paper, to make adjustments, to meet with me, to get help with your writing and organizing your paper. So there should be no excuse. As a matter of fact, I'm hoping that you will turn in the paper way before the due date, because it's the same paper that we've been working on from the beginning, just expanding on it and making adjustments or corrections. Okay. So with that being said, I want to sincerely thank you for the time you took this morning. I know it was a last minute request to have the professor from Nigeria join us. And I also wasn't even sure if he was going to make it this morning. So I would have invited more, colleagues. And also I would have notified you way ahead of time. But we were playing it by ear that, we weren't sure 2 weeks ago if he was going to be available or when he was going to be available. So the time for you to prepare was not that much. But I want to thank you for hanging around, at least for listening. And in the future, if I have other guest speakers, of course, I'll, keep in touch, notify you way ahead of time so that you can be better prepared. And if you have any questions, again, Thursday, December 2nd, 9:15 a.m. to 10:30 a.m., same Zoom link. I'll be happy to work with you on any content that you have, whether it's your Blackboard discussion questions, responses, your previous papers or your current paper, or practice with you your presentation for next week. All right, with that being said, thank you so much. And
Professor, can I start for class?
Yes, you may.